Thanks for joining us today, guys. Today we are joined by Philip Hill, and excited for him to share a little bit about his background with us and some of his stories to help enrich our lives. So, Philip, you mind introducing yourself to the audience?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me today. I'm Philip Hill, the founder and CEO of Purebred Marketing. We're a digital marketing agency that helps scale e-commerce brands through their most profitable revenue channels, which is primarily email automation, SEO, and then we build out commission-only sales forces for D2C brands as well. We'll get into a number of other things that I'm involved in as well, but that's my main day-to-day.
How'd you get into that? Did you just fall into automation for DTC, or like how did you get into this marketing niche?
Yeah, so I'm very much an accidental agency owner, as I tell most people. So I started my first company in college. That was a small thing, just trying to start out. I actually went and met with the dean and said, I don't think I'm going to go just get a job after college. I've always just kind of found ways to make money that weren't building real businesses, but to an extent they were kind of short-lived things to do. Not from second grade, I started selling warheads to kids in class because that was the thing to do. By high school, it was going before school to get Chick-fil-A biscuits, and kind of went from there. And so the dean just let me create this program that was just entrepreneurship program. And part of that was that I had to create a real business. And so I come up with a great product, and it's like, okay, I'm in a college town with a bunch of broke kids that can't buy dollar beers. Like, how are they going to buy a premium product? And so I taught myself Google Ads. From there, taught myself SEO. Social started coming out, kind of around that point. And when you rank at the top of Google, like, nobody knows other than the people searching those terms, which is how we got most of our sales initially. But once you start building big followings on social, people start coming to you because it's, the public can see that. And finally, after spending a ton of time helping, we kind of turned it into consulting. And then 5 years ago from next month, built out a true agency model. So we already had all of this expertise from our own companies. We came out with a number of other companies after that. They were kind of more scalable, that were mostly e-commerce sites, or at least they, revolved around online lead generation. So what we do now is we treat the brands that, come to us with Purebred and partner with us. We approach those like we do our own brands.
The companies that you started, are they kind of ancillary businesses that are expanding services? Are they kind of in a different area, right? Is the goal to enhance what you've got as your core competency? Or is it, hey, this is another investment opportunity that's going to take me down a different path, and I'm going to scale and sell that entity as well?
Yeah, so this is a tough answer for me to give you. Not hard for me to come up with, hard for me to tell you. So everything was in the pet space before, and they all fed each other very well. We either closed down or sold most of those to focus on a new business we had that we started 3 years ago, that ended up just kind of going belly up, like ended up in a lawsuit because the products that didn't work. And we had let go of everything that was, going well and smoothly for this, that we thought had a lot. It did have a lot of upside. Just the one thing that was out of our control, is what blew it up. So now we're getting back to looking to either acquire new e-com stores or start our own. So we have a number of things in the works right now. Some in product development, others in acquisitions. But the goal would be to kind of build an ecosystem within. So like the purpose of starting this agency was, one, we just had so many people coming to us like, how are you achieving this growth? And so just kind of helping, and it made sense to be like, we like to be able to help other people, and from having been in the trenches before, knowing what they're going through. But for two, in e-commerce, if you have a good product, you have good customer service, which is really easy to come by. You have a 3PL that integrates to your site, your Shopify site, WooCommerce site, whatever that is. Like, the marketing is what drives that growth and is going to make or break the growth of that company. And so the purpose of let's build this agency model out more extensively than just like consulting where we can execute is we have a machine that we can run our own brands through as well. So we don't put our brands on a pedestal and have our clients on the side. It's all viewed as the same. And we want to hire the best people. We don't this sounds mean, but like we don't hire entry-level people. Like we want people that are very experienced that can come in, they learn our processes, systems, softwares we use, and they can hit the ground running. And so we want this whole kind of ecosystem where we have this machine now that can drive that growth. We just need to find, and I can assess these really quickly and easily, pretty much if it's going to work. There are a lot that I think, of brands that come to us that I think like, that's maybe not a shoe-in, and it does work well. But I can assess the risk pretty well that, we're looking at a lot of opportunities right now.
So it sounds like that entrepreneurial spirit just permeates, and finding different opportunities and how to grow it, and add services or value back, and then spinning up, entities accordingly.
Yeah, it doesn't slow down
Yeah.
much for me.
Very cool. So once you got to the point of profitability, right? Companies were being successful. You had, cash flow that was coming in, didn't have to worry about food on the table, roof over the head. What was your strategic framework of how to invest the time, the money that was coming in as a result of what you had created?
Yeah, so most of my investments go into real estate, other than some of these newer companies that we're trying to work on. So early on, it was like short-term things that could put money back. I didn't have any money coming out of college. I completely bootstrapped that first business. And then the others, just that was doing, fairly well for the size it could get to, that was funding some of those other things. But like, I couldn't buy long-term rentals. I had some down payments that I could pay, but like, then I would just be stuck with that unless I did, there's methods that you can get your money back out and things like that with financing. But for the most part, like I needed to build my capital up. And so I was looking for short-term opportunities that could turn money over quickly. And so, a lot of that was like flipping houses. And then from that, I have bought rental properties with the money that we've gotten out of those. And so a lot of what I look for now, like I'm looking at, or I just am flying down tomorrow to the Tampa area to look at property to purchase, have a house here that we're turned into a duplex to rent out. It's right by in Atlanta, right by Emory University and Hospital. Be a great Airbnb. So we're going to turn that into a duplex, Airbnb those. I'm looking at a boat and RV storage facility in South Alabama by the Gulf down there. So a lot of it goes into real estate and a number of different types of real estate. I don't care if we're building houses, developing property, residential, like big commercials, kind of outside of my, past what we do. But so most of it goes into real estate. And then the other side is e-commerce companies of looking to acquire or products to start. I'm also the guy that like all of my friends come to with any idea or any opportunity that gets put in front of them. So I really do have an assortment of things that get put in front of me on like a pretty consistent basis. I wouldn't say I focus on any of those things, but I'll listen to anybody. If they have an opportunity that I need to listen to, like I'm open to it. I've had like resold SaaS software through like different licenses, and but the core of what I reinvest in is real estate for all of the appreciation, depreciation, cash flow, all the things that come with that are vital to grow. In my opinion, it's the least risk. Other flipping houses and building houses can be fairly risky. We look at probably, I bet you I look at a few hundred deals for every one that I go for. That's one of the biggest issues that I see is people get so excited. I hear I can make money. I know so-and-so is making money doing this, and they have no idea how to assess the deal, or they're willing to make, this much where you should make this much. And they don't realize all the miscellaneous expenses that go up, that there's a reason why people are looking for specific margins to make, because you can end up upside down. But I also want to know what I'm doing really well. And so having just a couple core focuses, like the e-commerce side of things, every brand that you have, like we're learning new things from those brands that we can go apply to other brands. Like customer data is extremely obviously sensitive, and we understand how to use that and be compliant within that. But it's really valuable. And so if you can have similar companies that you're going after with a similar customer base that you can cross promote, if you can acquire or start whatever that is, both of those, if you acquire two companies with the same customer base, but they're not competition, you can immediately cut your risk knowing that you can very inexpensively retain customers from both of those sides by cross promoting them. So I think that it's important. I don't think there's one niche that everybody needs to get in. Like e-commerce is not the answer to everybody's, hopes and dreams, nor is affiliate marketing, nor is certain types of real estate. But you have to learn like there's so many opportunities. We live in a world today where there is no excuse to not be able to start something. If you find this is what I tell everybody, and being in the space that you're in, probably appreciate it. People just think they don't have any money, so they can't do it. And what I tell everybody when they tell me that is there is way more money out there than there are good opportunities. And if you can find a really good deal and show that you understand how to work with that, and maybe there's some things that you need for collateral or partners you need to bring in, but if you can bring an opportunity to the table and prove that you understand why it's a good opportunity and what you can do with it, there's money to be found out there. And so you just need to, I think that most people just need to find areas of expertise that they just dive really deep into to learn all the ins and outs, how to analyze those deals, how they can make money in these deals, like the nuances of whatever that is. So I think that my story is a little different than what most people's will be. But I don't think it's for everybody, but I think that people can approach things similarly to how I do and whatever they're interested in and already kind of have some expertise in.
How did you determine that real estate was where you wanted to jump into, one? And then two, how did you determine, hey, I'm going to go buy real estate versus investing back in the business?
Yeah. So I partnered with this. I was 21. I was a senior in college. I had 18 hours left to graduate and got connected to this guy that was, he was the CEO of the largest ink cartridge distribution company in either the country or the world. They were like a $650 million company out of Dallas. And he basically created a subscription model. Like subscriptions were not a thing then. And so he was looking to put subscription models into place, and he had very specific things he was going for. And he wanted to partner with experts in whatever that specific field was. One of them happened to be the pet space. And so I got connected with him. I dropped out of my parents think I'm crazy. My friends thought I was crazy. With 18 hours left to graduate from Alabama, I drop out of college and come partner with this guy, move back to Atlanta. And we get to be within 30 days of launching, like everything lined up. Chewy.com was not a thing when we were first planning this. Chewy launched right as we're about to launch. It was almost to a T what we were doing. And then the subscription place, the subscription piece of that was dog food, supplements. Like there's so many consumable products for pets. And so I couldn't launch that without him. I didn't know all the ins and outs of what we were doing. I mean, I got a crash course in everything e-commerce related, that I learned more from him than I did in my entire education, from kindergarten through college. Which has been really helpful for my career, but I didn't feel comfortable launching that. If anything went awry, like he got diagnosed with often terminal illness and he was in the hospital. Like there was no even reaching him. And so I just went and got my real estate license, like on a whim. I was like, I don't know what to do. I put all this time and effort into this. I just dropped out of college. Like I'm, upside down. And so I got my real estate license. And at first, none of my friends or peers are buying houses. Like they're still in college and just getting out of college. And so I realized there's a lady in my office that did a lot of land acquisition for developers. And so in the downtime, it started like the first winter when there wasn't much going on. And I was like, well, I can either sit on my butt, which I'm not going to do, or I can just go knock on doors, send out mailers, do whatever I can to try to, find properties for these investors. And so I started finding property for developers, builders, and people that were flipping houses. And once I learned more what they were doing, most of these people weren't using their own money. And none of them were doing their own work. They had subs that did everything. Some of them had just contractors or superintendents that ran everything. So I was like, I'm putting all the legwork in finding these deals. I bring it to them. They are using somebody else's money, somebody else's labor, and then they're making all the money. I mean, I made money on, I would sell all of those properties on the back end too. So as a, 22, 23-year-old, like it was great, but I realized pretty quickly, like I can do all this myself. So it's a pretty easy segue into, I'm going to still go out and find all these deals, but I'm going to take what I can, anything that's over my head, I'll bring them to people. Like the larger development deals, I would just take to developers, but like flipping houses was the easiest place to start. And so that's really how that came about. I still had a number of other things going on at all throughout that time, but I was looking for, again, the quick cash. And so then I just kind of dove into real estate and learned that, there's a lot more than turning these over of kind of long-term investments that I can look at as well. And just different ways to approach things, finance things, partner with people.
Once, so the real estate was going, did you keep doing the real estate and then start the marketing as well and do both simultaneously? Or did you kind of wind one down, so to speak, and start up on the other?
So I was still early on, I had other things going on, but was selling houses too. So that only lasted like a couple of years. So I never really slowed down on the real estate investment. Like I still invest in real estate as much as I can. I don't really sell it. I'm not looking for clients to sell houses to. I have my license so I can shave off, the commission on like the buying and selling side. So that lasted a couple of years. The marketing was really after that. My focus was on other things that were like our other businesses throughout the whole time that I was selling houses as well. And then the agency didn't start until really probably kind of butted up to it, but a little bit after that I'd stop selling houses. But I don't ever plan to slow down on real estate. There's nothing that shows me that, depending on the market, like sure, but like you're never going to be able to time the market. So in volatile times like now, like there's certain deals that I wouldn't look at that I would have 2 years ago or 4 years ago or whatever that looks like. But I think that there's ways that you can be very risk averse with real estate that there's not much that matches it from a risk reward standpoint.
So how do you make the decision now that you've got Purebred up and running, right? You've got different verticals that you're pushing, where to put money into real estate versus back into your entity or a new entity? How are you making those decisions?
Yeah. So a lot of my decisions now come to time, like my time, my team's time. Who do I have that I can, like, obviously you have to delegate as you scale, but like, who do I have in place that I trust to be able to do whatever it is we're looking at? And so a lot of the thought around the e-commerce side of things is we have a team, we have relationships with any sort of vendors that we would need that is outside the marketing side of things. So for my time, if we acquire a business and bring it in, like I'm going to spend a little extra time, especially up front, like in the due diligence and like strategy and stuff like that. But like, it's just like bringing on a new client for our business for Purebred, and so early on, like in my early 20s, mid 20s, I just kept bringing on one more thing at a time. And I was like, I don't know where I find the time for this, but like I find the time to, be able to kind of do whatever comes my way that I want to work on. And then I started working 60 hours a week, 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week. And then it was like every night I'm working till 2 a.m. and up at 5 or 6 if I need to keep going. And I was fine with that for a couple of years, and it's just not sustainable. And my wife got pregnant, and that was kind of like a hard cutoff. Like, I'm not going to be the absent father. That's more important to me than any of this work that I do. I love work. I love business. I love all of these things that we're talking about, but not as much as I do my family and spending time with them. So I work, pretty reasonable hours now, which is great. But that all comes back to, if I bring something on, like it can't add another 20, 30, 40 hours to my week. Like I can do everything from a high level, but I need people to trust. And so the e-commerce side, we have a whole machine there. The real estate side, a lot of that too is I find partners for everything that I do. Like I don't do any deals by myself pretty much anymore. The one that I'm going down to look at in Tampa this weekend will be myself. But that's kind of a little different structure. For the most part, everything has to do with partners that can deal with most of the day-to-day. Like I will find the financing. I'll find partners to come in where we need more money. I'll assess the deals. So I have different people that kind of do different things on the real estate side of things. I don't do any paperwork for any of the deals we do. I'm not on pretty much most all of the mortgages. Like I'm on the deeds, or the entities we create are. But as you scale and you look for more opportunities, so when you're doing really well in one place and you look to expand, my biggest suggestions are look for something that already falls into your ecosystem. because that's going to be one thing you're going to know it the best. So just to get it up and running, it's kind of the least amount of time. But as you continue to bring things on, like stuff will fall through the cracks in what you're already doing if you don't have processes, systems, teams, things like that in place. So something that can be an extension of what you're doing or that can feed what you're already doing, where there's kind of immediate upside and lift that you get from that. Or the other side, have really good partners that have very dedicated responsibilities, and make sure that your responsibilities fall within what you're able to handle and what you know well. And also in looking for partners, one more thing to add there. One of the biggest things that's helped me in my career is accepting my weaknesses. So I think growing up, like if you're not good at science or math or, writing or whatever that is, we still all have to do those things in school. And so we spend so much time overcoming our weaknesses. So if you're a good writer, you knock those papers out really quickly. But if you're not great at math, you spend 1,000,000 hours on your math homework, you still get everything wrong and fail the test, And so now what I've realized is the things that I'm good at, I'm very good at, and the things that I'm bad at, I'm very bad at. But understanding what those are, I don't do any of those things. Any of the things I'm bad at, I'm not responsible for. I hire other people to handle those. And so that's one big piece too, is understanding, like from an efficiency and effectiveness standpoint, understanding your strengths, but more importantly, in my opinion, your weaknesses can kind of help you grow more quickly as well.
So as we've got some of our listeners, Philip, who are saying, where do I start? What does that look like, right? Obviously, you had a little unique situation because you went and got your real estate license, and you were, all in on that side. You probably built relationships, partnerships that, created some of that deal flow for you, wholesalers, right, developers, et cetera. For someone who's got their own company reaching profitability, what's the first step that you would recommend for them to take as they're trying to figure out how to invest?
So invest in general or invest in real estate?
Either way, right? I think, you've got to assess your own business in your own time, right? In terms of where you want to go, right? And how much, where you started was very time intensive, I would imagine.
Yes.
Right. And so some people probably don't, have or want to put that much time or effort in, right? So, curious if there's different levels of, involvement that people can have in terms of, whether it's real estate or repositioning business or, what that looks like. But, if you have someone that's coming to you and it's like, look, I've got extra cash, what should I do with it? What would you tell them to look at or evaluate or how to think about things?
Okay. So I'll start a step below that first. So if you have a little bit of extra time, but not as much money, I would go, like, instead of using wholesalers, I would be a wholesaler. It takes zero money. All you're doing is going out and just pounding the pavement, finding deals, assigning those contracts, making your chunk of change that you can build up to do deals yourself. And another thing you can do that's very similar to that very few people do is, you're not going to be a business broker, obviously, but you can go look for those opportunities. Like, you reach out to funds and say, what are you looking for? And then you just go hammer. But like, there's all kinds of ways to create those conversations. People are always interested in selling their business or getting investment or whatever that may be. And they pay pretty hefty. It's essentially like wholesaling, but for businesses as opposed to real estate. When you get to the next step and time is the constraint, but money's not, there are a couple approaches. One is making relationships with those people that I was saying of, where you start. If you have some time and not the money, go find those people, whether they already exist or teach them what to do, and give them, kind of a system to follow. There are already people out there doing those things that will bring those deals to you. And so to be able to assess, like, the easiest thing to do is tell them, here's what I want to see. Because at first they'll come and bring you all kinds of stuff that either you're reading through pages of crap that you want a high level to see if it's even worth looking at, or there's just not nearly enough information. So, like, here's what I want to see. Go bring these back to me. Tell me what, these metrics are. And you can assess pretty easily. The other thing is finding, just like within your network or networking to find these people that are already doing these things that you're interested in, that a little bit about, you want to get into, and tell them, like, hey, I have capital, like, how can I contribute? And learn from them. So it's not going to take a ton of time because they're doing most of the legwork, but you will learn what they're doing and the processes they follow. And people are always open to capital. So, like, you can find people that will take your money, and find people that have experience that just need your money. But I mean, there's two ways to do that. One is you don't really care. You just want a return, and you want to find people that you trust that will bring you that return, and go find them and just invest your money in them. I mean, and that could be anything from very passive angel investing to just investing in the market. And on the other side of that, if you have a little bit more time or want to learn and maybe branch out on your own, like find somebody that can kind of be a mentor that you also like, listen, I will pay, but I want to learn what you're doing. Real estate is a really safe place to start for people that want something more passive. Now, real estate is not nearly as passive as most people think, which people have to understand, which why finding partners is really helpful. So like one of my partners, we do a lot of work in South Alabama. Baldwin County is the 7th fastest growing metropolitan area in the country. Most people think there's nothing in Alabama, but down by the Gulf is pretty nice. And my partner there, like like my 3 best friends there. One of them is a custom home builder, but he also has a maintenance company, so can deal with anything regarding that, can build the houses, and then for rentals can do maintenance. The next is a real estate agent, residential real estate agent, kills it down there, knows everybody, knows market backwards and forwards. And the other is probably the biggest or one of the biggest residential developers down there. Finding people like that where they can, like, if we need more money, they come to me and I go and find it. If they want deals to be assessed, they bring it to me. But like, I don't have to worry about anything or my time that goes wrong there. And finding those strategic partners is vastly helpful. And it just depends on your situation to what you need to find in a partner, and what you're looking to accomplish, really.
So as listeners have questions, Philip, and want to know, like, okay, how do I become a wholesaler? What does that look like? How do I pound the pavement? I want to find a mentor. What do I look for? What's the best way for them to reach out and be able to connect with you?
So me, you can find me at LinkedIn, Philip Hill, Philip with 1 L. People always miss that. Purebred Marketing, purebredmarketing.com is our website. So you can find me there. So that's how you can connect with me. My Instagram is the Philip Hill. But if they were really looking for a mentor, and especially in those kind of realms that you just named, there are a ton of resources. Like Bigger Pockets is probably one of the most well-known real estate resources. They have a ton of free. There's some paid things you can get with them as well. They have podcasts with people that deal with every sector of real estate there is. And they have like forums that you can get in with other people that are, peers that just help each other out. And I think it's just a really insightful place to be able to gather information and meet other people.
Awesome, Philip. Appreciate the insights today, and look forward to staying in touch.
Absolutely.